Hey, how's it going? This is Ron. I just figured I would give everybody a tour of my bus. I've been living in it for almost a full year now, and it's gone from standard school bus to being able to be retitled as a Class A motorhome. I just have to go do the titling paperwork. But anyway, let's go check it out. So, it's going to be a little hard to see here in the front compartment, but as you can see, that's the driver's seat. It's really beat up. This is a 93. There's all my pull toggles, which basically operate all my interior lights, exterior lights, and interior heating pumps and fans and windshield wipers and stuff. That's the cover for the engine. I happen to have a 5.9 mechanical Cummins in here paired with an Allison transmission. It's a 5-speed automatic, I believe, or a 4-speed automatic. Really great engine transmission setup. So anyway, we're gonna go ahead and go through my door here and you'll get to see my place. So we're gonna start right here. Disinfecting cash and stuff like that. Anytime I do any type of transactions, you can see I've got a respirator mask right there. There was also another one on front of the dash that I had. This was my wood storage all winter long. What I would do is I would fill all the way up to the underneath of the table, on top of that seat, and then all the way underneath. You can see right down there, those are my heaters for the bus. They run off of the coolant system. So there's radiators in there that hold coolant in them. They circulate through the engine. They get really hot. I get the inside of the bus up to about 90 degrees. As you can see, I'm really running low on wood. I went out and you can see this wrapper right here on the ground. These are energy logs I've been purchasing. They're $4.50 for two of them. Two of them in an airtight stove burns up to about 8 hours is what they say, and they produce an extreme amount of heat. So I'm going to double back here for a second. You can see I've got fishing rods up here. I've got both fly rods and conventional spin rods because I believe in doing both. This is also my fly tying desk, which is a 1980 sewing table that I use for fly tying. I just got done tying up a couple of nymphs, and I'll actually show you those real quick. Now I use these for fishing in rivers and stuff because sometimes you just can't get them to eat something off of a conventional rod. So here's all the stuff that I've been tying: dry flies, nymphs. Those are the ones right there that I just finished up, that I just finished tying, and it works really good having this set up right here. So that way I can go ahead and do that. That takes care of all my fishing. Right here is a eco fan. Now I have to say this is probably the best fan that I've ever gotten for a wood stove because it runs off of the heat generated on the wood stove. I'm going to take you around to the back of the fan real quick. If you look at it, it's got that plate right there where the wires come out. Now that's a positive and negative system that works off of thermal. The bottom gets hot, the top is cold, and it produces energy. Now it's really not that hot right now, but it is spinning kind of fast. I got a 2020 True North TN10 with Class A chimney going all the way up that I installed. As you can see, I've got my ski helmet. There's a drying rack for skiing equipment. Here's some oars on the wall that I have that are for my aluminum rowboat once I'm able to get that out of storage. I got, obviously, my coal can. This is the wall that I let my daughter draw on. Basically, she wanted to do some charcoal drawing, so I let her do some charcoal drawing. And I've got my wind chimes, my guitar, a vacuum cleaner for when I fire up my generator and stuff, my dirty clothes hamper, obviously, because you got to have somewhere to put your dirty clothes. We're coming over here to my bed area. I just got over the flu, so that explains the cough medicine and stuff like that. I put a thermometer here, so anytime I tell the temperature, it's based off of the 5-foot mark, which gives me the accurate temperature for the ground inside the bus. It drops by a few degrees. And then here is some of my solar system components. Now, this lower one goes to my charge controller. Okay, and you can see what that's reading right now. I'm getting 20 volts at 6.5 amps, 14.5 volts at battery state at an 8.9 amp. Now, the top one is, it's flashing. That's why it keeps, like, you know, obviously illuminating. Now it's at 161.4 amp hours out of a 200 amp battery storage. Now this is my shunt, okay? This is a great piece of equipment. We'll do some videos on that, just letting you know exactly what that does and what its different functions and capabilities are compared to the lower charge controller piece. And that way you guys, if you have solar systems that you're working on to go off-grid, you can go ahead and work on those. This is obviously my bedding area, and it goes back into my garage. Now I put my skis up hanging and my snowboard bags and stuff like that. I've got a couple more RV pieces that I got to install, like that right there at the tip of my finger is a furnace. This piece right here is a bed slash couch, which is going where the table is, and I'm going to reconfigure the table so that it accommodates the couch plus the table and a bed situation. There's more energy logs and my peat moss for my composting toilet. And that bag is like $12 and it's 3 foot cubic compressed. And then my generator, my toolbox, and back to my power board. Now I'm gonna name off a couple of things on this power board, but I'm not gonna get into depth of how they work or what I think about them. I'm just gonna point them out. So right here I've got my fuse box that I installed. Right there is my solar panel intake or inlet fuses for the power systems. Those are all 10 amp fuses for now because I've only got 2 panels and they're both separated. This charge controller right here was the Harbor Freight charge controller that I run only lighting off of. I do have, you can see my solar panel power goes in, my battery power goes out. Here's my other charge controller that basically is responsible for, you know, charging as well. I also don't run anything off of this except for what it's supposed to be ran off of it. So as we go down, it's a big mess, okay? But it was the best I can do. So this is an on-off switch. Now this is going to kill power to that and to the inverter and to anything else that's hooked up after it. All right. Now the Harbor Freight charge controller is not hooked up to this because, as you can see, my lighting comes out right here. And so I can shut this off, which will shut this off, which shuts down everything in my bus except for the lights. And I did that because sometimes you need to be able to work on something and you got to shut everything else down, but you still need your lights. And basically what I did here is it was very simple. I have a fuse right there, 175 amp going to the inverter. And I made this jump, I made this plate, and I made this bus bar plate. So basically what I did is I took 3/4 inch copper pipe and smashed it flat with a hammer and drilled some holes in it. And same thing with some of these crimp connectors. This is an original crimp connector. This is a pipe crimp connector. And same thing, cut the length of pipe, stuff the wire in it, smash it with a hammer, smash the other side flat, drill a hole, good to go. Right here is the shunt. This is the wire that goes out and goes to the other meter. This goes on the negative. Be careful when you install these. If you decide to buy one, they do have, they are directional. Otherwise, you know, you'll end up getting a charging signal when you're actually draining power, and that's kind of annoying, especially at night. So I homemade all these bus bars and everything. Here's a fuse and all that stuff. And then it just goes down to my batteries. And this is 2 Rytar 100 amp 10 hour 12 volt batteries. I have them linked parallel so they remain 12 volts, but they give me 200 amp hours. And then this is the Harbor Freight Juniper, like I think 1200 inverter, which works pretty good. So that's basically everything that I got on the system. I got all my negatives here for, all that stuff. And if you notice the jumper cable leads, this is the last part of the system. I also have this too. This is an amp meter, and I'll show you where that's at over there. But I'm going to come up over here just past the charge controller. So what I did in my bus is I couldn't link my batteries directly to my engine. So what I did is I linked them through the inverter to this charger, and went all the way to the front of the bus. Now this battery charger is not hooked up to these batteries down here. This battery charger is hooked up to an inverter at the front of the bus that gives me a 2 amp trickle charge into my batteries whenever my bus is operating. So we're going to go back over here, and that little meter right there, right next to my clock, that's my amp meter. And what that does, to sum it up in a nutshell, is that shows me exactly how much power is going into my batteries as far as amps. Not volts, just amps. Right now, it's showing me I got 14.4 amps total going into my battery. Now the reason this gauge is not accurate to that, my lower gauge right here, the MT50, is because the MT50 is hooked up to one solar panel. That is giving me the amp capacity of both my solar panels coming from both my charge controllers. So, now that that's over and done with, I put up these curtains too. There's one in the front that we walk through. This one was just to separate the garage. So, oh yeah, by the way, Charmin. Now, I want to clarify this, okay, and I'm also going to go through another thing real quick because there's another 2 items I have back here. Number one, my water tank. That's a 65-gallon leg tank that I had from my detailing business. I repurposed it for water storage inside my bus. And just behind it, right in there in that little nook, you can barely see it, but there's a 12-volt pump back there that pumps my water. And if you're looking closely, that is in fact garden hose. The reason I used the garden hose, it was because that was what was left over from my detailing business, and I had to build this by pinching pennies basically. So anyway, back to the Charmin real quick, since toilet paper was a huge thing. I buy one of these naturally, and I don't really buy the Charmin one. I buy the Costco Kirkland brand, and the reason that I do is because this 30-pack, whether it be Charmin or Kirkland, lasts me for an entire year. And considering how I'm unemployed, I am completely mobile, and I'm disabled, money is a huge factor for me. So I buy the 30-pack of Charmin or the 30-pack of Kirkland, and there's my year's supply of toilet paper. I bought my last one last year, so I was naturally, there to re-up anyway. So, don't squeeze the Charmin on me too much on this one, okay, guys? So anyway, an old bow that's up there. Let me go ahead and close this curtain because it's going to really affect this. Okay, there we go. So there's my 12-volt DC television that's got a built-in DVD player, and I got that for $1, basically, which was really awesome. Above it is the power jack that I installed that runs across the roof right there. You can see all those wires that run across the roof, and then they go to my power station. Those ones back there on the back wall, those come in from my solar panels. And so I've got 12 volts there, and then I'm going to pan back over to this side. I'm trying not to go too fast because I don't want to make anybody sick. But then you've got this one right here that's a 12-volt jack. The USB ports don't work on it, but both 12 volts work. Then I've got USB out of the primary charge controller, which I don't ever really use. My clock has a USB charger point. And then I've got wires that run all the way across. Now, here's a couple of different systems, okay? Now, you've got this wire here, this yellow one. This comes from my inverter that comes from the bus motor. This one is 110 power from the inverter to the desk, and this one right here is 12-volt power from the battery fuse box going to the desk. So that up there, right up there where my pencil sharpener is You can see where the wires come down right here. I got a 12 volt jack and a 110 power strip up against that cabinet. Okay, so now back to this side where we were, so we can pick up where we left off. I put in this clothes rack. I got a PlayStation 2 because that's what I had a long time ago. And I figured, yeah, every once in a while I like to play games for literally 5 minutes and then I get irritated with it because I was never really a huge video gamer. I got a full body mirror right there. There's my little buddy heater, man. That thing, I'll tell you, if you don't have a buddy heater, get one, okay? Because if you're in a cold area and you got propane but you can't do fire or anything like that and your heating system is questionable, this guy right here will help you out so much. I've had the inside of my bus 80 degrees for 2 days straight while I had the flu. And most people think I'm nuts, but you know, flu doesn't last in heat, so naturally you make it hot. So there's an Ace Hardware bucket down here because you can see my, that's basically my gray water tank, so I have to be careful. I can't do dishes normally. So I got to do it the old school way where you fill up one tub with hot water, which is why I got the tubs there. Then I got the strainer and everything. Then there's my trash can. That's also my propane storage underneath there, and I've got one pot down there just to fill the gap. I have 4 tanks of propane. These 2 on this side are dedicated for the buddy heater at all times. That one right there is dedicated for my stove, and the one behind it is dedicated for my hot water system. I do got a couple of dirty dishes in the sink, and the counters are a little bit, you know, overwhelmed with stuff, but at this point I don't really care. I've got the coronavirus right here in the sink, so I've got Charmin and coronavirus, which is pretty cool. I don't have any lime right now, so I haven't even bothered to refrigerate these. These are actually really old. And I like Corona, you know. I drink it when I go fishing on my raft in the summertime, and, you know, I don't drink much. I drink like 1 beer per trip. You're lucky if I have 2. I'm not a big drinker, but anyway, they're in there. So we come up here, and I've got the Harbor Freight magnetic paper towel holder. As you can see, I've got a thing that holds all the pots right there. This is all my stainless steel stuff. I always like pots with a copper bottom that are stainless steel because copper is one of the best thermal conductors you have that they can use on stuff like this. This is my captain's hat, okay? Just in case you were wondering, I didn't say anything about it, but I have to move it because those are my water glasses. And I put them upside down with mason lids. These are the ones that have the straws that you get at Walmart. The reason I put them upside down and screwed them to the top is because the vibrations keep them tight, so I don't break them because they are glass. If you look just behind them right there, there's a toggle switch, that little guy right there. That's actually how I turn my water on and off in this bus. That links to the motor, and I have to flip the switch. It's not like a standard RV sink that has an electronic indicator on it that lets you know when there's water flow or anything. I come across over here, I got some more stuff hanging. This is where I hang all my measuring cups, miscellaneous stuff. As you can see, this wire mesh thing right here, this is the other half of it. It's actually an asparagus steamer, and I didn't figure that out until I showed it to my daughter's mom, and she's the one that told me what it was actually for. It was just basically a steamer, mostly commonly used for asparagus. And I also use it as a crawfish cooker for personal crawfish cooking. Cereals, stuff like that. You know, this is where my cutting boards are, spoons, everything. This is my cooking area. Yes, it is dirty. I decided to just do the video. I didn't really care about cleaning anything at this point. Like I said, my place is kind of a wreck, but at the same time, you know, it is what it is. My onions are starting to grow because that's where I hang a lot of my stuff. There's a bag full of apples, red, white onion in that bag, oranges. I've got ginger and lemon here because I make a ginger root tea. I've got my spice rack right there. Fire extinguisher over the stove because there's no better place for it. And that's just one of the ones that I have in the bus. This is my hot water system, and the reason that it's in pieces is because it keeps freezing on me. So I'm going to show you real quick. I have repair work with JB Weld that I've done here. I've had repair work that I've done with JB Weld here, and I got to redo this one because it's still leaking just a little bit. And then I've also got, if I can get this to move, which it's not going to, I'll just take it off. I've also got repair work right there with JB Weld. And I've had to repair this thing multiple times over the last couple of years because of it freezing. Even before it was part of my bus. But that's how I generate my hot water. It will do 1.4 gallons per minute at 150 degrees, okay? And so that you know, this is an eco temp, in case you're interested in buying one of those. Now, it's a really great system. I've had it for, you know, about going on 6 years. I love it. It's totally awesome. So then we go to a microwave that I absolutely never use. As a matter of fact, it's where I keep my bread. And shockingly, my bread has never molded while it's been in there, ever. My refrigerator with all my daughter's artwork and different letters and stuff towards me. This is my pantry, and it's an under cabinet, or an under countertop cabinet that I bought and didn't have enough time to really do anything with it. But it's going to be actually going right down here in this section when I have enough time to actually, you know, remove some stuff. I got to recut that base down there. I'll put that cabinet in and be good to go. I have a pantry storage down there and a crushed up milk carton. There's some various cleaning supplies and miscellaneous stuff underneath there. That chair right there was actually part of my fly tying desk. And I figured it would work great right there because of the padded seat. Because right here there's a vanity mirror that is my medicine cabinet / toilet paper holder. And this thing's great. And what I like about this is there's a mirror on the inside of it and the outside of it. So no shame. And if you've got shame, well, oops. But there's that right there. And it's got the mirror on the inside of it. Now you can see my composting toilet behind it. I'm not going to get too much in depth with that. Okay, because that's a whole nother setup and it's a little complicated to talk about. What I'll do is I'll post some pictures probably of what the original construction process was so that you can see them. Here's my passenger seat right here, which is basically right in front of the toilet. Here's some curtains. Now the curtains and a couple of other pieces that I have inside my bus right now, including the seats that are in my passenger seat right now with my ski boots, are pieces that I got out of a RV that had been given to me that I couldn't do nothing with. I couldn't start it and move it. So I basically took it apart where it was at, took everything that I needed out of it, and did away with it from there. There's my coat rack right there, and then basically we're right back at the curtain for my front door, which is right at my fly tying desk. So that's basically it. I hope you guys enjoyed the view. I'm sorry it was a mess, but honestly, it would have taken me forever to put this video up if I would have tried to go around and make this thing incredibly presentable, because as you can see, it's still a rough construction process. So anyway, I'm going to make some videos isolated for certain things. If anybody has any questions on some of the stuff that I have or some of the stuff that they saw in the video, go ahead and let me know. Anyway, so you guys take care.